Hello and welcome to another episode of The Brothers Discuss. I am Alex.
And I'm Chris.
So we're back, guys, and get this. We're going to be talking about actual movies this time. Now, one of the strikes has officially ended, and as we've talked about a few times on the show, we've chronicled the different strikes as we've talked about movies as they've been released, and we've had a huge, some long breaks between some of these episodes because there's been less to talk about. But the Writers Guild strike is officially over, and they got what they wanted, which is very good. Hopefully soon the actors one will too. And I actually thought when the writer's strike ended that the dominoes will fall into place now. Like we're reaching the end, and we haven't yet. So, all right. So let's get talking movies here. We're coming back to an earlier genre, if you will, from this year, the brand movies. Now, this one's not so much about a brand. It's about a brand, but it's more about, it's more about an event we lived through. This is Dumb Money. This is the GameStop trick movie, if you like. What did you think of Dumb Money?
I enjoyed Dumb Money quite a bit. I wasn't too blown away by it, and I remember kind of when this story blew up in real time, like when the GameStop shares are going through the roof. I didn't know there was this much build up to this. I didn't know the full story behind it, and it was pretty interesting to see some of that. As a movie, though, it's kind of got a lot going on. So it gets a little distracted here and there, but I mean, it's still pretty solid through and through.
Yeah, I mean, with the brand movies, all these kind of have an underdog story, but they're a corporate underdog is what I guess you would call them. And
Mhm.
you have this, which fits into that as well, but it isn't about GameStop. It's not about the GameStop people being like, look at our stocks. Like we don't see anyone from GameStop at all besides the Anthony Ramos character who's just a
Yeah.
sales guy or a store clerk. So I thought that was interesting how it was an underdog story about a company, but from the perspective of everyone but the company.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with this. It's funny to think this is as modern history can be. This is only 2021 when this is
Yeah.
predominantly set. And there will be movies that will show what era it's set in through showing famous movie scenes and famous TV commercials or music videos and things like that. Air did that a lot, the Ben Affleck shoe movie.
Mhm.
This does that through memes and TikTok dances and songs. So it's funny to think that we're at that point now where we can show a montage of memes and be like, okay, I could tell when this is set. And
Yeah.
Reddit almost being a character in the movie and the importance of a Reddit thread being shut down. I've
Mhm.
never seen a movie like this before. It's very strange to see some of that stuff on the big screen.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I had a lot of fun with the performances. I think it's all held together by the Riddler very well. Um, you know, different people who have different lives and are all dealing with the same problem is an interesting way to tell the story. And I know it's based on the Antisocial Network. I think was the book. And
Yeah, I
I don't really know
recall.
anything about the book, so I shouldn't compare the two. But I don't know if some of the characters that we follow are real people. I mean, they might be loosely based on real people. Like the two girls that are in college, I don't think are based on real people in real life. And
Mhm.
America Ferrera's character might be based on someone. Same with the Anthony Ramos character. I think was to show someone working for GameStop.
Right.
And I really like the line, and it just shows how weirdly nostalgic some things from the lockdown era of the pandemic can be. But when they say that GameStop is still open because they sell computer mouses, so that makes them an essential business, even though what they predominantly sell are video games. There's little things like that that made me go, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good movie, good fun movie, just a good underdog story. I'd watch it again. It's nothing incredible, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Oh yeah, same here.
I will say real quick, I loved the reveal of Dane DeHaan in this movie.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
was surprised
like
in
it's
this,
like
but
second he showed up, I was like, oh, I know that voice and I know those sad eyes. That must be Dane DeHaan. But all around, this is a good cast. Even like Pete Davidson. Um, he's someone that I just only recently found out has like some controversy surrounded around him, but
Mhm.
I do find him annoying, but I liked him in some things I've seen him in recently. Basically this, the Suicide Squad, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But hey,
Yeah,
he's found a pretty good niche at playing like dumb, annoying people. I think we're meant to not like him for a majority of what we see in this movie.
he's actually pretty likable in this though. Like that's the thing. It's so
Well, he's like a DoorDash driver, and but he like eats everyone's food, and he
yeah.
says, but I always like when he's like, he says he's an essential worker because he's like a first responder. Like I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, good film. So the next film I've got is I saw this a little while ago. It's an A24 film called Past Lives, and you saw this, right?
I did see it. I saw it over the summer though, so it's been
Mhm.
a few months. But so I might be a little bit fuzzy on some of the details, but I really love this movie a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, it got a lot of buzz at Sundance, and I was interested in seeing it, and I decided to not watch a trailer for it and not really read anything about it. So I went into it kind of blind, which was nice.
Mhm.
Sometimes I like to do that. It's about, for those that don't know, it's about a boy and a girl from South Korea who go on a date when they're kids, and the girl and her family move to America. When she's an adult and Facebook is around, she looks up the boy and they start talking again over Skype, and they kind of start this long distance friendship, a little bit of romance in there as well. But a great film, a really good story about fate and destiny
Mhm.
and what ifs and what it's like to look back at regrets we've had in life.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
this will be one of the films the actors are allowed to promote come award season time because A24 are a good studio.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And I don't want to say much else about it because I went into it totally blind. But if this sounds like something you might enjoy, it's a nice romance film, but also something that definitely spoke to me in terms of the sadness that comes with it. Uh,
Yeah.
Great film, Past Lives.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw a movie called Theater Camp. You didn't see this one, did you?
I did not know.
Okay, well, it's available on Hulu. That's how I watched it. So I don't have a lot to say about this other than if you grew up doing theater or were in the performing arts, this is something I would recommend you watch. It's made for people like us, dare I say. Um, really, really funny. But if you grew up doing dancing or acting or whatever, or anything to do with theater, you will get this. It's a very funny satire. It's shot in a mockumentary kind of style, but really funny. And this is basically just a recommendation more than a talking about what the movie's about. But as you can tell by the title, it is about a theater camp. So you have all these adults who take what they do way too seriously, and so do the kids. And it's just really funny. So I would recommend it.
Okay, I'm intrigued now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there were so many moments I had flashbacks to from my experiences in theater, but I also laughed out loud many times as I was watching it by myself, which you don't always do when you're watching something alone. So,
Mhm.
good movie. Speaking of good movie, we're gonna talk about something that's not a good movie, and that is Haunted Mansion. Um, we're I guess at this point in the podcast we're entering our belated spooky season section of the show.
Yeah.
We got some stuff we'll talk about. But first up, right off the bat, is this Haunted Mansion reboot. So I don't know if you did this. I did a double feature where I watched the 2003 Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion and then this. But
I did not do that.
okay, have you even seen the Eddie Murphy one?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't even know that was a thing until this one came out, and then I looked
Wow.
at it and it was like, oh, there's an original one. Um, so I didn't see this one in theaters. I just saw it on Halloween, unfortunately. Genuinely felt like one of the like biggest waste of times in my life. Like
Yes.
you're probably gonna say that too, but actually watching that on Halloween, I felt so shameful and just like, I was like, I'd rather be doing anything right now. Like it's seriously, I didn't think it would be that bad. Like I really didn't, but it was just, there's nothing to it. Like I'm already having a hard time trying to remember things that happened in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
bizarre.
I mean, I'll comment on the 2003 film real quick.
Okay.
So obviously it's based on the Disney ride. This came out the same year as the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and since then we've had quite a few Disney movies based on their theme park attractions. But I don't think many of them are successful. You know, you get films like Tomorrowland or The Jungle Cruise. Pirates is really the only thing that's kind of stuck around, but even that I feel they kind of ran to the ground eventually.
Yeah.
Um, but with the 2003 film, I was someone that grew up watching Eddie Murphy family movies, whether it's like Shrek or Daddy Daycare, and then this fits into that as well. And it doesn't really work beyond that, I would say. Like the original Haunted Mansion movie doesn't get a lot of love from critics or even fans, I would say. But as someone that appreciated Eddie Murphy as a kid, like I was weirdly nostalgic towards it because I did see this as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Um, but at least that film had beautiful sets and practical work and everything.
It didn't look so like awkwardly assembled when it mixes CG with bad
Yeah.
cinematography and
hmm It
terrible
had
light.
beautiful sets, and General Zod gets dragged to hell in that movie, and it's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
great. Yeah, like no, I'm not even joking. Like he gets dragged to hell after he mentions hell, and then like a fire dragon like comes out and drags him into this portal, and then all the other ghosts go to heaven. So there's no mistaking it. He gets sent to hell. So good for
Okay.
Terrence Stamp.
That's what
Um,
this needed.
but this new one, like you said, this came out in the summer, like just after Barbie and Oppenheimer, and nobody saw it.
Yeah, no, not a good time to release it.
Yeah, and in the stars, wide ensemble, it's got a wide cast, as you would imagine, most of which had come from their stupid Disney Plus shows, like Rosario Dawson and Owen Wilson specifically. And it is just a boring, boring film.
Like
And
shockingly boring too. It's yeah.
yeah, and I don't know how much you know about the actual Haunted Mansion ride from at Disney World and Disneyland, but there is a sort of built-in lore behind it. And one of the things that's kind of notorious about it is the Hatbox Ghost, which for those that don't know was an animatronic that they tried to do back in the day, in like the 60s, but it didn't work. Like the trick was that they wanted like the Hatbox Ghost's face to move from the head into a box, but they could never get like the lighting to work. So they just scrapped it. And then over the years, it's kind of developed a reputation where like, oh, it's the Hatbox Ghost. That must mean it's like the ghost. Maybe they removed it because it was too scary. Like that's what people have been believed. No, it's just because the trick didn't work. Like there's no real story behind it.
Yeah.
But here in this movie, the Hatbox Ghost is the villain, as played by Jared Leto. So that's a black mark in and of itself.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it has a cartoon face, so it's CG, and his
It's just
voice is modulated, so you couldn't tell that it's him. So
right.
if you were like looking forward to seeing this movie because of Jared Leto, you'll be disappointed. But then I know there's plenty of people who won't see this because it has Jared Leto, so nobody wins in this scenario. And I mean, like seriously, like you can't tell that's him. I mean, yeah, there is a backstory that they have in the movie where you see like images of him with like mutton chops as if he came off the set of that prologue from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you can't tell that it's Jared Leto. And this just doesn't add anything with that the original one already did. But even with the original one, like it just had a fun, spooky vibe. Like, I mean, there's a point where they fight like some skeletons in the original film, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
Not really outstanding in this movie.
yeah,
And fun and spooky, like that's the nature of the ride itself. It's like it's, somewhat unsettling, but it's like fun to go through. And you don't get that vibe in this movie.
no. And then on top of that, we got to talk about this. So Rosario Dawson's kid has a bunch of action figures in this movie, but they're like Marvel Legends figures, which
Yeah.
took me out of the movie, which was weird because you would think that if they were like fake figures, they would also take me out. But I mean, but because it's a Disney movie, because Marvel Legends are part of a Disney brand, it would there was that. I mean, they do use fake figures at one point for a story plot purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but there's just so much product placement in this movie. And I don't talk about product placement a lot, but I'm talking like Ghostbusters 2016 levels of product placement.
Oh yeah.
Like Lakeith Stanfield is the lead in this film, and he's a guy that used to believe in ghosts, but then his wife died, and then he's sad and depressed. And he recalls a story where they went to go get what was it, like ice cream from like Baskin Robbins, or it was tater tots.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so like the fact that they brought up Baskin Robbins to begin with, that was so specific, but then later on they're like, oh wait, is that tater tots? No, that's jalapeno poppers from Burger King. And it's just like, come on. I mean, people complain about product placement in movies all the time, like in Man of Steel, how there's like an IHOP or Sears in the background, but that's never really bothered me. Like like in Man of Steel, like Superman never goes like, ah, yes, Sears, I'm here to get my waffle iron or something like that. No, it's just places that exist in real life that are just in the background. That's fine. I don't care about that.
It's Metropolis. There's buildings. It's okay.
Yeah, but like you said, I felt this wasted my time,
Yeah.
and this also just has, as you alluded to, just terrible cinematography. It has that weird depth of field to it, where you're kind of going like,
Mention that.
is that like, are they on a set or are they on green screen? Like if like the fake stuff looks really bad and the real stuff looks just as bad as the fake stuff, it's just, I don't know. It just really irritated me.
Remember that really awkward moment where like Rosario Dawson's character and like her son, they're like jumping over like nothing in the hallway? And I
Yeah.
get it. I guess there's supposed to be like a hidden like abyss to nowhere or something, but like it's just the way it was shot. Like it just looks so cheap. It just looks
Yeah.
so bad.
So yeah, I would not recommend this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years, Disney will make another film that will maybe be watchable. Who
Or
knows? But yeah, I mean, I just want to talk about this real quick. That movie just came and went without there being any discussion. That like it felt longer ago than it actually was when it came out. Like I forgot that it came out in July.
yeah.
And then, but it's an interesting strategy by Disney because it came out in July, but obviously it's now on Disney Plus in time for Halloween. So
Mhm.
did they just put it out there hoping it would make some money so that it'll get some buzz come streaming on Halloween time?
Why not just release it on Halloween? I
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, the other thing is that it's it came out like right as the actor strike began because when they had their red carpet premiere, obviously the actors weren't there, so they had like people like in costumes from like from the parks to there.
Yeah.
They had that going for it. And it's just funny that with the original film, it's funny that Disney put out 2 movies based on their theme park attractions in the same year, because the first Pirates was also 2003. They did that twice, and one of them was successful. So who knew that Pirates was going to be successful?
Yeah.
All right, moving swiftly along. You've seen a couple of spooky movies. You want to get those out of the way?
Sure. Which one? I'll start with The Haunting in Venice because that came out about a month ago, 2 months ago.
Okay.
So this is the follow-up movie to Kenneth Branagh's, I guess, trilogy now. I already forgot the detective's name.
Oh.
But yeah, that character, because there was Murder on the Orient Express first and then Death on the Nile. I think you've seen both of those.
I have, yes.
Yeah. And, they're not the most, outstanding detective movies. And I think especially coming around the same time as, the Knives Out movies, they are a little bit outshined.
Mm-hmm.
But come this third one, I saw the trailer for it, and I genuinely didn't even think it was the same franchise until you see the same detective in it, and I was I was actually a little bit more intrigued in this one than I was in the other two, and I think I like this one the most out of the three, just because it tries to do some new and inventive things. I don't think it's necessarily outstanding, not any more than the other two are, but it tries some new techniques. And I don't think it's necessarily a great horror movie, and I don't think it's necessarily a great detective movie, but I think it's a good mix of both in a weird way. And I was intrigued with that, and I think because of that, I kind of like this one the most of the three. So take that for what you will. This one was pretty. It's still worth watching. So I'd check it out.
All right. I may just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then I also saw the biggest movie out right now, actually, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Ooh.
So I guess background knowledge if you have no idea what this is about. So this is a video game series that's blown up proportion. I mean, it just started off as just a couple of indie games. And they blew up, and now it's this huge franchise of video games. I don't know how many there are. There's 8 or 9 of them, something like that. I've played a couple of them. I've played some of the earlier ones, and I was never really excited for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So I guess if you're totally unaware of what this is, basically how the video games worked is that you had to survive 5 nights as a security guard when animatronics would come alive and try to actually eat you. And it was fun because so you couldn't move around. You were in your security booth. You had to use security cameras to look around. And if they got too close, you had to close the doors or shine lights on them. And it was neat. It was atmospheric. It was pretty well done. And I think it got worthy of all the recognition. And then as more and more games came out, it kind of leaned more towards the lore and just building up this story for all the games. And that kind of lost me a little bit because, I mean, this is just me. It's not that I think the lore is bad, but I just don't need justification or reason for killer robots to be the way they are. And it gets a little convoluted, and it's a big part of the movie, so I won't explain it, but it's just, I don't need all of that. I think it's fine for a movie, but it comes at the cost of what could have been a more atmospherical and just kind of a more pleasing horror movie, because this didn't really feel like a horror movie to me. There are a couple scenes here and there that kind of worked a little bit, but it never really took advantage of that atmosphere that the older games have. So if you're in it for lore, I guess check it out, but I feel like, you already know what you're getting into. So I don't know. This one wasn't as much for me. There's potential for it, and I know it's supposed to be signed for a trilogy. But I don't know. I wasn't really too blown away by this one. So that's Five Nights at Freddy's.
There we go. All right. So I guess my next movie I'll talk about is another spooky movie that also did not come out in the spooky season. And that is Talk to Me, which is another A24 movie. I talked
Mhm.
about this a little bit on the last episode. This was directed by the Philippou brothers, who I think are known as Raka Raka on YouTube.
Yeah.
Their videos weren't really my style, but they did do those really impressive fight scene videos where the fight choreography was good, the camera work was good, the makeup and effects were really good. And it makes sense that guys like that would go on to make a real movie released by A24 because they knew what they were doing and
Mm.
were just making stuff because they had an outlet for it. So the fact that they've graduated to making a full motion picture is really impressive. And it's pretty neat to see them make that jump. It's a creepy movie and really unique. It's got a lot of buzz from a lot of people like Edgar Wright or Guillermo del Toro. And I don't really know what else to say about it other than it's a very creepy and unique movie. I would definitely recommend it. I believe it's available for everyone to watch now. So uh, check it out before they get picked up to make Doctor Strange 3. Which that is something I did think about. They made this thing in Marvel, especially with horror directors, love picking them up and getting them to do something else. Like, what would they make? Would they make something like Doctor Strange, where is the idea that they want to make them to do something weird and horror-ish, or do they just give them like Captain Marvel 3? Like, do they give them something that's not in their wheelhouse based on the work that they've made? I mean, the other comparison is David F. Sandberg. I mean, with his YouTube connection, because he was known for his horror shorts on YouTube, and then he got on to do like an Annabelle movie, like and stuff, and other horror movies, and
And
then
then
eventually did Shazam. Um, or maybe James Gunn will swoop them up, which I will say that would interest me way more than anything Marvel would give them.
that
Like
yeah.
if like
This
yeah.
weren't wasn't there something with Blue Beetle and how like they were supposed to be doing that movie? I don't know if I'm
I don't know.
but I thought I heard that was something.
Hmm.
And then I don't know what else happened there. All I know is Blue Beetle sucked.
I still have
There's
not seen Blue Beetle.
okay. Well, there's my mini view of Blue Beetle. It's fine. It is the best DC movie to come out this year, I guess.
Okay.
That's my mini view.
There we go. But I mean, like, giving David F. Sandberg Shazam, like, if I was familiar with his work at the time, I probably would have been like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But then you see the movie and you get the scenes with, like, the Deadly Sins monsters, and those have some creepiness to them. But,
Yeah.
it's funny to give someone like that a concept like Shazam, like a director that predominantly makes horror shorts. But, horror directors, they've gotten people like Scott Derrickson, Sam Raimi,
Hmm.
even Del Toro got his hands on a few horror projects and I guess unrealized projects. That's something I forgot to mention with Haunted Mansion. Del Toro was actually was originally attached to that Haunted Mansion movie. Like they announced it at Comic-Con and everything. He was there, and it never happened. And it just got me thinking of like some famous unrealized projects. Probably the most famous one that's closer to my heart is Channing Tatum as Gambit, where it's almost been 10 years since we got that first announcement that he was cast as Gambit for a movie that never got made.
Mhm.
And I want to say it was the same panel where they were talking Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, and I think Fantastic Four, where that's where Channing Tatum came to the panel, took a selfie with everyone, and it didn't go anywhere. Um, I will say I think we kind of see him in Logan. You kind of see him in the form of one of the comics that X-23 has, because if you notice on one of the box corners that Marvel used to do on their comic book covers, there's an image of Gambit, but it's like a bulkier Gambit. He's all smiling and everything. And I subscribe to the theory that is Channing Tatum's Gambit.
I guess we'll never know, though. Maybe if Dark Knight's got a sequel, but that's gone now.
Yeah. Well, with all the things that we've been hearing about Deadpool 3, he's got to have a role in that movie. It's somewhere. That would actually be a cameo I would love to see. Like, Channing Tatum would be the kind of guy that would show up for a joke. He's done it before.
That is true.
But I want to stick in the superhero realm real quick. A few weeks ago, and I swear we've heard this before. I swear this is old news. But Matthew Vaughn was making the rounds where he was talking about his proposed Superman trilogy that he was working on with Mark Millar, where the conceit of this is that Krypton doesn't blow up, or rather it does, but Jor-El got the numbers wrong and it just blows up years after the fact, where now it solves the problem in a way where like all these Kryptonians come to Earth and there's just a whole bunch of them. To me, it doesn't make a difference to me when Krypton blows up. It just it's a means to an end for me. But you do run into that problem where it's like, how many surviving Kryptonians can there be? It's like too many people surviving Order 66. Like, how many of these people can there be?
Yeah.
And like, if I were making a Superman movie, I wouldn't have done this. But fans have hated this treatment for Matthew Vaughn. And there's like, I'm not a big Matthew Vaughn guy, but to see that a bunch of fans of his were like, "Oh, this is stupid," it's just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't shock me that he would try and turn the mythology on its head. Like, that's the kind of thing that he does.
Mm-hmm.
What I did find funny, because he was also going to direct X-Men 3 at one point. I'm pretty sure he was responsible for casting Kelsey Grammer as Beast, for example. Like, he was that deep into production. And he said that Fox had a script that the movie opened on Storm saving Africa, basically. And then he was like, "What is this scene?" And they're like, "Oh, that's just Hallie's script. We gave that to her so she could sign on for that movie," or something like that. And then obviously removed that scene once she said yes. And that scene is not in the movie. Yikes, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
And what kind of surprises me is I recently watched Die Another Day, which stars Halle Berry, and I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I really only saw it once, and she is so bad in that movie. And this came out in like the same year she won an Oscar. And then in between X-Men 2 and X-Men 3, she did Catwoman. And I'm like, why was Halle Berry given, like how is she a star? I mean, obviously, beautiful woman and everything, like, but why was she a star? Because she is so bad in Catwoman. She is so bad in Die Another Day. And in the first X-Men movie, now granted, she's barely present, to be fair, but her accent's terrible. But again, she's barely in the movie to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then in X-Men 2, she gets a little bit more to do, but she's more of a star, so they put her more prominently on the poster and everything, and she doesn't have an accent. Yeah. But by X-Men 3, the posters say Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, X-Men The Last Stand. So it's like she's equal top billing, and it's like, why? It's Halle Berry. Like, why do we like Halle Berry? She's in a lot of this crap. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, then she gets cut back in Days of Future Past, so... Oh,
yes.
I don't
know. So before we get to talking about the real movie, the main event, I got to get back to talking about the subject of product placement.
Okay.
And this is one of the most confusing things of the year to me in terms of pop culture. This McDonald's campaign that they started, which was really a campaign for Loki season 2, but it was McDonald's has appeared in movies and shows and music videos. Like they included really obvious ones and then ones that didn't make any sense. Like on the fries box, it would say like McDonald's French fries box as appeared in blah, blah, blah. And in the commercial, like I don't think they ever showed Pulp Fiction with the Royale with cheese.
Yeah.
But they would show the scene from Paris with Love, the John Travolta, Luc Besson movie of him referencing his scene from Pulp Fiction. Just a really weird campaign. And they also had said, as seen in The Office US, but we don't actually ever see anything in The Office. The scene that they included in the commercial was all the filet of fishes that Michael had eaten. And Michael saying, like, that wasn't all in one day, Ryan. And that's where they cut it, because then Ryan says, still, with that he's eaten this much McDonald's, which they don't include in the commercial, obviously. So they cut out the punchline that makes fun of their gross restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
They don't include Batman Forever. Come on. Like, not only do the Golden Arches appear in the movie, but the I'll Get Drive-Thru line was purely because they had a partnership to release a bunch of stuff through McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people, like those glasses are like the most like the best part of that movie and that experience at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they didn't include Batman Forever because it was a promo for Loki season 2, so maybe that was why.
Too much competition, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of McDonald's, did you hear about this Grimace Shake conspiracy that's been making the rounds a little bit?
There's a conspiracy? Like this is separate from like just the stupid TikToks that people made, right?
Yeah. No. That's a whole separate thing. The memes. I'm talking like there's like a conspiracy about how this Grimace Shake came to be. So the Grimace Shake came out in June, just in time for World Pride Month, and it was to celebrate Grimace's birthday. And hang on, let me look this up. How old is Grimace? He's 52 years old.
Okay.
Like that's not a special number. Like he's not associated with DC. But with that aside, so 52 is just a random number to celebrate his birthday. I don't even think Grimace's actual birthday was in June itself. But the theory is that originally McDonald's were planning to make a Pride-themed milkshake. But if you remember earlier this year, there was the whole controversy with Bud Light, where they gave a trans person free beer. And
yeah.
I dug deep into this, where it's like, it's not like it was like a commercial or anything like that. Like it was like some TikTok star that they just gave free beer to. But then you had idiots go to like Walmart and smashing like the wrong beer because they couldn't remember it was Bud Light. They were smashing Coors Light or something like that. And fucking idiots. So like now look, Grimace, I'm a big fan of his work. I'm sure he didn't mean to work with Donald Trump that one time. He probably regrets it if you were to ask him today. But I'm not saying I subscribe to this theory myself, but I'm just saying it's interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, this whole campaign to me just came off as something they would do for like the Super Bowl, like all these movies and TV shows that you remember us from, but you're McDonald's. You don't need to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Why is that important that you're in a bunch of TV shows and stuff? You're McDonald's. You're already more famous in some of these movies and shows that you're priding yourselves in having been in. It's just weird, and I just don't get it.
Doesn't it also kind of feel like it's just getting in the way of Loki season 2? I don't know. Just about that now, it's just kind of like, well, now you have like different marketing competitions with your own company.
Yeah, I mean, good job. You're just promoting like a show I don't even like for that way. So, I mean, look, and I've seen people be like, I no joke earlier today saw someone say, "Oh, Loki season 3 wasn't as good as the last 2 seasons." It's like, no, I'm like, it's following the same trend. These shows have a decent start, and then they peter out, and everyone forgets about it until the next one.
Yep.
Like, I've seen the evidence. On that note, Killers of the Flower Moon was pretty great. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me over on Letterboxd, Instagram, and Blue Sky.
And you can find me. I'll cut this joke out. Or maybe I'll keep it in. Who knows? So yeah, I saw the latest Marty Scorsese movie. And you have not seen it, right?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Okay. It was good. It was long, and I guess that's the main thing everyone wants to debate about, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. I want to talk about my theater experience because I experienced hell.
I you on a really bad experience, so I'm interested to see how this one can top that.
Okay. So, I went into this, everyone was here for the Taylor Swift concert movie. So it was like Barbenheimer Part 2, essentially, except nobody came for the second part. They were just here for the first part. So when I walked in, I was the only one here. And I thought, oh, cool. I get to see this movie all by myself. And I'll get to talk about how great an experience it was on this show. Not quite what happened. I hear a couple other people walk in a few rows behind me. I hear some people come in to my right and then some more in front of me. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of people here, which I'm fine with. I'm happy there are people seeing this movie.
Yeah.
Then there's a man, granted, this is before the movie starts. This is during like previews and all that. There is a man watching a baseball game on his phone. And I'm like, well, look at this. Look at this guy. But then they do one of those promo things where like for the movie theater where it's got like opera music playing. And then the guy I noticed put his phone down. He was doing like conductor hands as this was happening. But then once that was done, he just checks his phone again for baseball.
Okay.
And then 3 dumb bitches in front of me. And I kid you not. And look, I don't know the ages of these people. They weren't children. I wouldn't call children bitches. But if I had to guess, based on the lighting of the theater, it looked like a mom and her 2 teenage daughters. But I kid you not. Multiple times, all 3 of them were on their phones. And I'm talking like they were like scrolling through like Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok, just going through messages. And it's like, now look, in their defense, but fuck their defense. Yeah. It was, the brightness was low and it was in night mode. So it wasn't like glaring, but I could still see that the phones were on.
Mm-hmm.
And then people in front of them were also on their phones.
Oh, God.
And then other people around me were also on their phones. Like, I swear to God, this would make Marty Scorsese roll in his non-existent grave right now.
This is during the movie, right?
This is during the movie.
Okay.
Right, we're past previews by this point. This is during the movie, but oh wait, it gets worse.
Oh dear.
There came a point where I heard like, I was like, it sounded like a voice coming from someone's phone. And sure enough, someone answered a call during the movie and got up. Now, they did leave the theater, but they answered it while in the theater. It's not like a, hey, I'm in the movie theater, give me a second, and then left. The conversation was happening as they were leaving. It went on for like 30 seconds or something like that. But it was very clearly someone talking through a phone. Oh. And then someone else at one point answered a call, but they just walked to the back of the theater and spoke on the phone.
Oh, come on.
They did not leave. Like, I can hear this conversation happening, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, if you aren't, like, what is the point of paying to see a 3.5 hour long movie if you aren't going to watch it? Just leave. It's clearly not interesting you. Just leave. Like, I don't normally experience that. Like, I do experience people being on their phones. Like, I have seen plenty of people take out their phones and start answering texts, which is annoying, but whatever. But to have two people answer the phone during the movie, like, I know it's a long movie, but that was crazy. How is it 2023 and people still answer the phone? Sorry.
Moral of the story: do your research before you watch movies. Look up your movie's runtime.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if you're watching a Martin Scorsese movie, you should already go, like, even if you don't know the runtime, you should expect it to be at least a good 3 hours, let alone 3.5. And you know his movies, they're not like, that's weird that you bring up like that audience, it's like the mom and her teenage daughters. It's like, that doesn't, I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but it doesn't seem like their kind of go-to thing. Taylor Swift is in the next door.
But like, I mentioned a few times on this podcast how much I like going to the theater for these movies. And I will hear stories like Red Letter Media is a good example where they want cinemas to die. And they would talk about these negative experiences they would have. And I don't tend to have those experiences normally. Someone bringing out their phone is one thing, but I don't have like major disruptive experiences watching movies in theaters. But I don't tend to go to theaters where that's going to happen. Like over where I live, I have the Untitled Draft House, and I like going to see classic films in quotation marks. Like classic meaning films not released in 2023. Like those screenings tend to be packed, which is eye-opening to like, how many people are film buffs. So when I go to a more general public one and I get that experience, it's disappointing and eye-opening in another way. And it's a shame that I had that experience for this movie, but I think I really, really enjoyed this movie regardless.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, it's based on a true story on the Osage tribe in Oklahoma in regards to how a large group of them were murdered in the 1920s and how nobody seems to care. And we are told this through a story of people scheming and manipulating, and it's really well done. And Martin Scorsese is obviously a great director, and saying that he made a great movie is not going to be surprising, but making a movie that is so dour through so much of it and you feel really hopeless while watching it because you are seeing these people die off and you can't do anything about it. And Leonardo DiCaprio's character is interesting because he's, I guess by default, the protagonist, but it's more that we see the event through his eyes mostly, and he's not a particularly racist character or anything. Like, I mean, we see him mock the Native American call and things like that. So it's not like he's without his prejudice, but his part in the killing of these people is not because he hates Native American people. And then we see in the background of all this going on, the KKK just exists.
Yeah.
But if and when you have the opportunity to see it, I would highly recommend it. I joked in the beginning that it was good but long, and I do just want to talk about that because there's always going to be an online discussion about length of movies and what's necessary. And I have seen that be a criticism of this movie because of its length. But like I said, long movies and 3-hour movies in general are going to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea that a movie can't be 3 hours. Like the viewpoint that like no movies shouldn't be that long. Like I think that's nonsense. But I think that certain movies don't need to be that long when you fill your movie with padding and filler. Like that's unnecessary, obviously. Like I didn't feel the runtime with this. This and Oppenheimer, like neither of those times I went, fuck, this is long. Like it wasn't until after the fact where you're like, oh yeah, that's a long ass movie.
Okay.
There was a point where I thought the movie was coming to an end where it just sort of felt like the end was about to come and it went on for another hour. And I don't say that to be dismissive, but I understand where people are coming from with long run times. But I also think people need to, I don't know, harden up a little bit. It's not that bad. Like when people binge watch hours of television and then can't handle a 3-hour movie, I'm just a little bit like, okay. I understand it's different when you're at home and you can pause it. I understand that, or if someone has a weak bladder, maybe. But otherwise, I don't see the problem. So that's just me.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I feel this will get a lot of Oscar buzz. I'm hoping Lily Gladstone will get some recognition because I think she was really good.
Okay.
I also think De Niro will probably get some nominations because I actually thought he was great in this. It was the first time in a long time where I thought, man, that Robert De Niro is a damn good actor, isn't he? So,
Nice.
yeah, thumbs up from me. Probably the best movie I saw given like the worst viewing experience possible.
Okay.
So with that, Chris, where can people find you this time?
Same place as last time, Instagram, Letterbox, and kind of Blue Sky. Been more active on there. I did post my thoughts on I already forgot, A Haunting in Venice on there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm also on Letterboxd and I guess X, Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I'm not going to dignify that. Twitter.
Yeah.
Blue Sky. You can also find my work as a video editor for the amazing Spider Talk podcast on the YouTubes. And I also recently made my writing debut for them. I've got an article on Substack.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I'm officially a published writer on Substack. So yeah, check all those out and we'll see y'all next time for, I guess, the next cinematic experience, like masterpiece, The Marvels, as Marty would cringe at me saying. So we'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.